very important concern, one of the 5 C's of survival. If you missed the other ones, I already covered cutting tool, combustion, and container. Today is going to be cover. Like I said in one of the previous videos, in Canada, it goes from minus 40 Celsius in the winter all the way up to 40 Celsius in the summer. So that's 80 degree gap, which is pretty crazy. So the cover, of course, is going to be different depending on your situation. But here, it's very important to be intelligent about the cover that you choose, depending on what you're doing. On a day hike in the summer, well, if I'm alone, I don't care. I'm probably not gonna even bother. Maybe I'm gonna bring a hoodie. That's enough, okay? But if I'm going camping, well, different options. Depending on if I'm alone, if I really want to go light, if I want to be comfortable, if I'm going with someone who is not used to the discomfort. So this is going to change cover a lot. Okay, so I really have to think, what's my situation? Here, this is a military bivy bag. If I'm alone and I see that the weather is not too cold, it's possible that I only bring this and a couple of wool, maybe 1 or 2 wool layers. That's enough. It's very small. Or this and how do you call those? A sleeping bag liner. So it's very small. It's very light. So this together is a pretty good combo. And if you guys don't know what this is, a bivy bag is basically something that you would normally put over a sleeping bag. This one is Gore-Tex, which is awesome because it protects you from the elements, from the wind. Wind is a problem, so from the wind and from even the rain. I was in pretty bad conditions with this alone, and I think just my clothing, and I was super fine. So this is a very good piece of kit. I don't have a sleeping bag right now, but depending on the weather, sleeping bag might be a good option. But sometimes they're so huge. I have one right here. Give me a moment. I won't carry this. This is a huge sleeping bag for 2 people, which I leave here. It's awesome, but it's not for, moving around with it. It just stays here. So it doesn't count in the cover. So yeah, bivy, a liner, sleeping bag system, something like that. What else? Tarps. These are very nice, very high quality AquaQuest tarps. I forget the names, but this one is a very rugged, very bomb-proof one, and there's a lighter one. There are a couple of different tiers. This one is super light. You can feel the difference. It's very light. And if I had to choose, go the light one. The tarp, especially the light one, is always nice. Even if it's a day hike, I might bring this, because if it gets rainy, couple minutes, set up the tarp, everybody's covered, we can chill for a couple hours or whatever, minutes, hours, and then we continue. So tarp is very nice. If I'm alone, or I've used it for 2 people, but it has to be a significant other. This is very significant. This is the Snug Pack 1-person tent. Well, this tent is awesome. It's light. It's enough for you, well, for me and a small person. If you're with your girlfriend, you guys are going to be very close to each other, which I hope is fine. But it's doable. I did it plenty times, and it was awesome. Again, depending on what my plans are, what the situation is, I might want this. I might want something bigger. If I'm not alone, well, then we can split the weight. Okay, you take the poles, I take this, you take that. This is an option. And the last point for cover, well, the most important point for me is, what do you choose to wear? Your clothing. Like I said, I touched on the summer side of it, which doesn't really matter. You know, check the weather forecast. Is it gonna rain? You know, maybe bring a poncho or a hoodie. But in the winter, it can mean you have a good time or you are miserable. And for me, it took a while to understand that, because naturally I can be perfectly fine at 40 degrees Celsius. It doesn't bother me that much. You know, I'm fine. But minus 40 is, for my genetics or whatever, it's not that nice. I had to work my way to be more comfortable with this. With cold exposure, with different types of things, now I'm fine. I love the cold and I love the heat. But I also learned a lot about what works for me, which it took me a while. And if I had one word to say, it would be wool. Wool. These are wool pants, big bill wool pants. I have thicker ones. These are, I don't remember. There's a couple. They're all good. Wool pants. Some wool clothing is mad expensive. I'll give you that. And it's kind of ridiculous. You don't want to do that. But Big Bill, this company, which I'm not sponsored, Big Bill, I love your company. This is Big Bill. This is Big Bill. I have a bunch of Big Bill. It's an awesome company, and for the price, the quality is amazing. So this wool pants, wool coat, amazing. I have a wool hat. And as for, wool can be expensive. Like I said, Big Bill is good prices. And what I do for the sweaters and the shirts, I go to the flea market. Flea market, I get awesome merino wool for $5, for $10. It's actually ridiculous. So I do that. And in the winter, I don't even have a winter coat. This is my winter coat, and this is also my this is pretty much my every season coat. It's just single layered. There's no insulation more than that. That's just wool. And depending on the situation, I might use only this under, or maybe a couple more layers of wool. I went to horrible cold situations with only a couple, maybe 3 layers of wool, 4. I walk in the forest for 4 hours at night, minus 35. No winter coat, only different layers of wool. That's perfect. It keeps the heat properties, even if it's soaked, which is awesome. And it dries fast, and it breathes. When you walk a lot, especially in the winter, you don't realize you're sweating because it's cold, whatever. You don't realize you're sweating, and then you get dehydrated. which is horrible. Happened to me a couple times. Learned from my mistakes. Now my clothing breathes. Very important. So wool breathes, keeps you warm.